Hello and welcome to Decision 2004. Today we have President Al Gore with his running mate, Vice President Joe Lieberman, against Arizona Senator John McCain with his running mate, Tennessee Senator Bob Corker. It is now 7 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Georgia, John McCain is the projected winner, winning their 15 electoral votes. In Indiana, John McCain has won their 11 electoral votes. Out of Kentucky, John McCain has won their 8 electoral votes. Out of South Carolina, John McCain has won their 8 electoral votes. Out of Vermont, Al Gore has won their 3 electoral votes. Out of Virginia, however, it is too close to call, Al Gore having roughly a 2 percentage point lead over Senator McCain, the incumbent president leading in Virginia. Here's the current electoral map. John McCain leading 42 electoral votes over President Gore, 42-3. McCain is leading, though it is still anyone's game tonight. Republicans usually lead up until around 11 o'clock, so we still have a long night ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 7:30 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of North Carolina, it is too close to call. John McCain having roughly a 7-point lead over President Gore in the state. Out of Ohio, it is too close to call. John McCain having a 2 percentage point lead over the president. However, in West Virginia, John McCain is projected to win their 3 electoral votes. In Virginia, it is still too close to call. John McCain is now leading with 1% of the vote, leading by 1 percentage point, Here's the current electoral map. John McCain leads 47-3. We still have 3 states that have their polls have closed. We're still waiting for an official answer as to who won the state. These are considered battleground states, of course. It is now 8 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of Alabama, John McCain has won their 9 electoral votes. Out of Connecticut, Al Gore has won their 7 electoral votes. Out of Delaware, Al Gore has won their 3 electoral votes. Out of Washington, D.C., a very blue state, Al Gore has unsurprisingly won their 3 electoral votes. Out of Florida, it is too close to call, but however, Al Gore is leading with 3 percentage points. This is a state that was so close to call that there were multiple recounts, and it had to go to the Supreme Court, in which they decided to stop the recounts, which at the time Al Gore was leading by less than, I would say, 300 votes. Out of Illinois, Al Gore is the projected winner, winning their 21 electoral votes. Out of Maine, it is too close to call. Al Gore is currently leading with roughly 9 percentage points above Senator McCain. Out of Maryland, it is projected to go to the president as he wins their 10 electoral votes. Out of Massachusetts, Al Gore has won their 12 electoral votes. Out of Mississippi, John McCain has won their 6 electoral votes. Out of Missouri, it is too close to call. John McCain currently leads with 3 percentage points over the current president. Out of New Hampshire, it is too close to call. Al Gore currently leading with 4 or 5 percentage points over Senator McCain currently. Out of New Jersey, Al Gore is the projected winner, winning their 15 electoral votes. Out of Oklahoma, John McCain has won their 7 electoral votes. Out of Pennsylvania, it is too close to call. Al Gore currently leading over Senator McCain with 5 or 6 percentage points. Out of Rhode Island, this is Al Gore's running mate's home state. He has won Vice President Lieberman's home state in winning their 4 electoral votes. Out of Tennessee, this is the home state of current President Al Gore and John McCain's running mate, Bob Corker, as Tennessee is now being projected to go to John McCain. This is the state that Al Gore targeted in this year, but it looks like he couldn't get the job done as John McCain has won the state by 13 to 14 percentage points, winning their 11 electoral votes. Out of North Carolina, we can now make the call that John McCain will win their 15 electoral votes. This is a state that George W. Bush won by a lean margin back in 2000, but it looks like John McCain has won it by 5 to 6 percentage points. We can also called the state of Virginia. John McCain has won their 13 electoral votes, a flip from, or excuse me, this isn't a flip, but John McCain has won their 13 electoral votes, but very narrowly. It is a very narrow margin. Votes are still coming in, but we are confident that John McCain has won the state of Virginia. Out of Ohio, it is still supposed to call. John McCain currently leading over Al Gore by a percentage point, roughly. Here's the current electoral map. John McCain leads 108 to 78. As we can see, all of Maine is currently too close to call. New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Missouri, and Florida currently too close to call. It is now 8:30, and we have in the following states of poll closings. No surprises here. Arkansas is projected to go to Senator McCain as he wins their 6 electoral votes. This is former President Bill Clinton's home state, another state that Al Gore attempted to try to flip back into his column but failed to do. Out of Maine, we now can make a call that Al Gore has won all 4 of their electoral votes. Al Gore has won every electoral vote in the state of Maine. In Florida, it is too close to call. It is it currently is an eventual tie, but Al Gore is currently leading by roughly 1,000 votes, maybe 2,000, for what the data we are gathering here. Out of Missouri, is too close to call. John McCain currently leading by 1 percentage point roughly in the state. A state that a lot of people had going to John McCain by either a safe or likely margin, but it looks like it could be going to win by a lean margin, if not tilt. Though this was a state that was not supposed to be, or we did not expect it to be a battleground state, as Al Gore did target several southern states. He targeted Tennessee, Missouri, and Arkansas. He also targeted North Carolina and Florida very heavily, but of course, so far he's failed in in winning any of those states as of right now. We still have 2 more states out of the many states in the South he targeted, Missouri and Florida. Right now, he could win either state, but it looks like John McCain is currently leading in the state of Missouri. In New Hampshire, too close to call. Al Gore currently leading by 3 percentage points currently. In Pennsylvania, too close to call. Al Gore leading by 2 percentage points. John McCain looking like he's doing a lot better than what George W. Bush did in the Rust Belt. Targeting Pennsylvania, hoping to get it closer for a future nominee, as he stated in an interview with Chaotic Politics Studio. Of course, I'm the one who gave that interview. I'm such a great person. In Ohio, still too close to call. Al Gore is now leading in Ohio. If this were to hold, Al Gore would flip the state of Ohio, which would be big, but he is only leading by like 1.2% right now. So anything can happen. This is still early in the night. I would just watch out for this state of Ohio, which we had going to John McCain by a lean margin, by the way. Here's the current electoral map. John McCain leading 114 to 82. Of course, as you can see here, you still have New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Missouri, and Florida left to be called right now, as well as the other states where polls have not closed. It is now 9 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. In Arizona, the senator's home state, John McCain has won his home state of Arizona in their 10 electoral votes. Out of Colorado, it is too close to call. John McCain leading by 5 percentage points. Out of Kansas, John McCain has won their 6 electoral votes. Out of Louisiana, John McCain has won their 6 electoral votes. Out of Michigan, it is too close to call. Al Gore leading by 4 percentage points. Out of Minnesota, it is too close to call. Al Gore leading by 7 percentage points, 7.6, 7 or 8, depending on where you want to put that. In Nebraska, John McCain has won all 5 of their electoral votes. He had targeted Nebraska second very heavily, as it is a state that was teetering towards becoming a likely district for Republicans, but he made sure that he could keep it safe. He won it by roughly 13 percentage points in this election. In New Mexico, it's too close to call. It is an even tie, as you can see by the percentage points, but of course, John McCain's currently leading by a 1/10 of a percent, leading by roughly 700 to 800 votes. It is a very close state that we're hoping that can be called soon, but it looks like the state is going to be a very heavily contested state throughout the night. In New York, Al Gore has won a big prize, winning their 31 electoral votes. Out of North Dakota, John McCain has won both North and South Dakota, winning 6 electoral votes in the process. Down in Texas, John McCain has won their 34 electoral votes. Al Gore won New York. We can give Texas to John McCain 2 big prizes won by each campaign. In Wisconsin, it is too close to call. It is even right now, but Al Gore is currently leading by 0.2%, in the lead by roughly 1,200 votes in the state of Wisconsin. In Wyoming, John McCain has won their 3 electoral votes, a solidly Republican state. No one thought otherwise, that it was going to Al Gore or would get close, but John McCain has, so unsurprisingly, won the state of Wyoming. In New Hampshire, we can now make the call. A state that he targeted because in 2000 George W. Bush had narrowly won the state. Al Gore has now won the state of New Hampshire, flipping it, winning their 4 electoral votes. In Pennsylvania, Al Gore has won their 21 electoral votes, another big pickup for the Gore campaign. In Florida, it's still too close to call, a seemingly tie, but Al Gore currently leading by 0.1%, currently leading by 1,000 to 2,000 votes, depending on where you are seeing this now. Data is coming in, so I can't tell you if it's 1,000 or 2,000 because numbers keep coming in frequently for the state. In Missouri, it's too close to call. John McCain regaining his lead as is sorting back into his column. McCain now leading by 2 percentage points. Maybe it's not as big as a battleground as I thought. We could call this state any time now, but Missouri, I think I could presumptively say that maybe I was not wrong by giving it to McCain by a likely margin. Maybe I was not wrong, but anything could happen. In Ohio, it is too close to call. John McCain currently leading by 1 percentage point, a very tough state that the 2 campaigns, seemingly that both campaigns need to win it in order to win the presidency. Here's the current electoral map. John McCain leads 187 to 138. It is now getting closer. As you can see, the states of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Missouri, Florida, Colorado, and New Mexico are currently the battleground states that are paying a lot of attention to. For the Gore campaign, it's seemingly like both campaigns need to win the state of Florida or Ohio to secure the nomination. But it looks like Missouri could also be up there. We don't know. As a lot of people are hoping that this election does not go to a deadlock like it did last year, where the Supreme Court has to decide. That would be bad for everyone. It is now 10 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. In Iowa, it is too close to call. John McCain currently leading by 3 percentage points. In Montana, it is projected to go to John McCain. In Nevada, too close to call. John McCain currently leading by 4 percentage points. In Utah, John McCain wins their, I'm pretty sure that's a typo, it's 6 electoral votes. We now have a call in the state of Minnesota. Minnesota now being projected to go to Al Gore, and their 9 electoral votes go to him. Out of Colorado, it was too close to call. John McCain now leading by 5 percentage points. Out of Michigan, Al Gore currently leading in the state by 3 to 4 percentage points. In New Mexico, still too close to call. Al Gore now leading by 1 percentage point. A very tough state that John McCain had targeted heavily. A state that he's trying to flip from 2000 that George W. Bush lost, and hoping to flip the state, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case as of right now. Of course, anything could change, but Al Gore is currently leading by 1 percentage point. Out of Wisconsin, too close to call. John McCain currently leading by 1%. This is a big news for the McCain campaign. It looks like he could unseemingly win the state of Wisconsin. Nobody could have called this, as he is not led in any of the polls. The closest poll had Al Gore up by 2%, a very close state right now. Out of Florida, too close to call, an even tie right now, but of course Al Gore currently leading by roughly 600 to 700 votes. Of course, he needs to get over that 1,100 mark, so there is not a recount. That is something that the Al Gore campaign should be praying does not happen, that he gets under 1,100 votes. Out of Missouri, too close to call. Al Gore leading by 2 percentage points. He's broke 50% with the votes that are being counted. Oh man, this could be huge, as Missouri has not gone to the Democrats since Bill Clinton back in 1996. As he won the state by roughly 2 to 3 percentage points, known as the bellwether, as a lot of people thought George W. Bush was going to win the election, but he didn't because, Florida, as he was close to winning the election, but of course everything happened. Out of Ohio, too close to call, and even tie so far, but John McCain leading by roughly 200 to 300 votes. A very close state in Ohio. Here's the current electoral map. John McCain leads 195 to 147, as you can see on the map there. The states of Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Florida, Colorado, New Mexico, and Nevada are all the battleground states left to be called. It is now 11 p.m. and the following states have poll closings. Out of California, a big pickup for the Gore campaign as he wins the state of California. He wins the state of Hawaii and their 4 electoral votes. John McCain picks up the state of Idaho and their 4 electoral votes. Oregon, too close to call. Al Gore leading by 6 to 7 percentage points over John McCain. Washington projected to go to Al Gore and their 11 electoral votes. Colorado, a state George W. Bush won back in 2000, is going to stay Republican as John McCain wins the state in their 9 electoral votes. Out of Michigan, Al Gore keeps state blue as he wins their 17 electoral votes. Out of Iowa, still too close to call, John McCain now leading by 1 percentage point. A state that George W. Bush won by roughly 3 percentage points. This is not looking good for the McCain campaign if he wins by less than 3, as it could flip blue tonight. Out of Nevada, it is too close to call. John McCain currently leading by 5 to 6 percentage points right now in the race. Out of New Mexico, it is too close to call. An even tie again, but John McCain leading by roughly 500 to 600 votes in the state. Out of Wisconsin, it is too close to call. Al Gore leading by 1 percentage point. This race is this state is a lot closer than a lot of people expected, as here at Catholic Politics 2, we had it going to Al Gore by a likely margin. And Florida is too close to call. Al Gore leads by 1 percentage point over John McCain. That lead increasing over the deadlock tie, the seeming tie as we've had in the past hours. And Missouri is too close to call. Al Gore leading by 1 percentage point, but again, he has dropped below 50%. Very close state in Missouri. It looks like that Al Gore could end up flipping the state of Missouri at the end of the night. In Ohio, it is too close to call. John McCain is currently leading by 1 percentage point, a very close state. Here's the current electoral map. As you can see, the only state that has left their polls to be closed is Alaska, and Al Gore leads 234 to 208. The current states that are the battlegrounds, of course, Ohio, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Florida, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon. These are the states that are the battleground states. So I think I can say that if John McCain wins the state of Wisconsin, he will win this election, because Wisconsin has not gone red since 1980. I think it was 1984 when Ronald Reagan won a 49-state landslide. That was the last time Wisconsin gone red, and I believe if McCain can win the state of Wisconsin, he has won this election. That is what I wholeheartedly believe. It is now 1 a.m. and we have the final state poll closings. Alaska is now being projected to go to John McCain. John McCain has won the state of Alaska. Here's the current electoral map. Gore leading 234 to 211. We now have to wait for the rest of these states to be called. It is now 1:34 a.m. We can now call Oregon to go to Al Gore. Al Gore has now won Oregon in their 7 electoral votes. We have a call out of the state of Nevada, as he has won their 5 electoral votes. John McCain has won Nevada in their 5 electoral votes. John McCain has flipped the state of Iowa. Excuse me, I had said earlier in the night that George W. Bush had won Iowa. I was wrong, forgive me. But of course, Iowa is now Iowa and their 7 electoral votes have flipped from blue to red, as John McCain had flipped a Rust Belt state in Iowa. Here's the current electoral map. Al Gore leading 241 to 223. The battleground states that are left to be called are Ohio, Wisconsin, Missouri, New Mexico, and Florida. These are states that we need to watch. Of course, I am already going to say that I am keeping by my word that if Wisconsin goes red, John McCain wins this election. I promise you of that. Now we want to show off a pathway to a McCain victory, as of course we do have Wisconsin blue, but of course, as if he were to win every single battleground state that is left besides Wisconsin, he wins the election. Now we can give Al Gore New Mexico and we can give McCain Wisconsin. He still wins the election. But though this is the most likely pathway that we have right now, and we can show you the Gore victory, the Gore pathway as of right now, is he only needs to win 2 states, as of course he is currently leading in both New Mexico and Missouri. Though if he only needs to win Florida and Wisconsin. That's the only thing. As you can see from the big difference here, Florida is the make or break for both campaigns. If you win Florida, you seemingly win this election as it wasn't 4 years ago. It is now 2:23 a.m. We can now call Ohio to go to John McCain. John McCain has won their 20 electoral votes. Another Rust Belt state does go to the Republicans as John McCain has won their 20 electoral votes. Here's the current map. John McCain now leading 243 to 241. And some updates out of the 4 remaining states. Al Gore is leading in both Wisconsin and Florida, while McCain is leading in Missouri and New Mexico. It is now 3:02. We can now call Wisconsin goes to Al Gore. A very tight race here in Wisconsin, as Al Gore has won this Rust Belt state, albeit narrowly. This could say a lot for the midterms, as maybe we can get a Republican senator in the state. We don't know. It's still 2 years off from today. We can also make a call out of New Mexico. New Mexico was a state that John McCain needed to win, but it doesn't seem to be happening, as Al Gore has won the state of New Mexico, keeping it into the blue column, winning their 5 electoral votes. Here's the current electoral map. Al Gore currently leading 256 to 243. As of right now, the only pathway to victory for John McCain is if he wins Missouri and Florida, and he's only leading in Florida by less than 1,000 votes. This is not good news for the McCain. Excuse me. I do have news now that John McCain has conceded the race to Al Gore. John McCain has conceded to President Al Gore, and I'm not going to make the call that Al Gore is president re-elect, but John McCain has conceded the race to President Gore. As of now, as I'm getting confirmation right now from my cohorts. It is now 4:30 in the morning, roughly, and we can now make a call that Al Gore has won the state of Florida in their 27 electoral votes. He has won the state by 1,105 votes as of right now. 5 votes over the 1,100 that he needed to make sure it wasn't a recount, and Florida has gone to Al Gore narrowly. It's a very narrow race. And now I can make the call that President-elect Al Gore has been re-elected President of the United States. Al Gore has won this election. As, of course, a couple hours ago, Senator McCain had conceded the race. I did not want to make a call because he did not reach 270, but he has now reached 270 electoral votes. Al Gore has won the presidency, and he's currently leading in Missouri, which would be a phenomenal flip for the Gore campaign if he were to win the state tonight. Here's the current electoral map, 283 to 243 electoral votes. Al Gore has won this election, of course. I mean, even if John McCain were to win the state of Missouri, it wouldn't matter. Al Gore still wins the presidency. In Missouri, it's still too close to call. It is a deadlock tie still, and we're probably going to have to go to recounts, of course, and we're going to recounts for the state as 100% of precincts are in. Al Gore only leads by 200 votes. It is November 13th, 2004. We can now make the call that Missouri has gone to Al Gore. After recounts, Al Gore has won the state of Missouri. Every single vote was recounted, and of course, Al Gore has won the state by 800 votes. Missouri has now gone to Al Gore. It's a flip from 2000. Al Gore has flipped the state of Missouri unexpectedly, as I had it going likely red. Here is the final electoral map. 294 electoral votes to 243, a very odd map as there is a blue dot in the middle of the map of Missouri, but Al Gore has won the presidency, has won re-election. A very great, this is a very great night for the Gore campaign, as, well, I guess you could say it was also a bad night as Wisconsin got a lot closer, as it seemingly Wisconsin was ignored by the Gore campaign, but we don't know that for certain. We just have to find out for the future. Here is the marginal map. As you can see, we have some very close races. New Mexico was very close. We have several states that were decided by less than 1%. all but one were all Democrats. New Mexico was decided by less than 1%. Missouri, Wisconsin, and Florida, Gore barely won. And Ohio, McCain barely won. The Rust Belt got a lot closer, as Pennsylvania and Missouri was decided by less than 5%. And we do have the final results of the popular vote, as Al Gore has won the popular vote by 3 percentage points of 49 to 46. This was a very odd election year. I'm sorry about this. But Al Gore, President-elect Al Gore, will be re-inaugurated on January 25th, or January 27th, excuse me, 2005. God bless America. We'll see you next time.